Amnesty International's story begins with a man reading a newspaper on a London tube train.
In it I read of 2 Portuguese students who'd been arrested, charged and sentenced. The only evidence against them was that over the dinner table they'd conspired to overthrow the government.
Amnesty's founder, Peter Benenson, speaking soon after the organisation's launch.
I thought then, what a crazy world this is, where 2 friends can't have dinner together without being arrested. I felt like walking straight round to the Portuguese embassy and demanding their release there and then. But what was the use? In the next few days, I determined to try and mobilise public opinion throughout the world, if that were at all possible.
The idea was to encourage people to campaign for the freedom of those who were unjustly imprisoned, to ensure that they wouldn't be forgotten, and to make their prison guards aware that the world was watching.
Our symbol, a candle in a coil of barbed wire, will radiate its flame of hope and faith through the thickest dungeon in the damnedest prison.
And in the years to come, Amnesty's message would penetrate many jails around the world. Among the prisoners it reached out to was a girl, just 15 years old, called Maria in Uruguay. Although still so young, she was already married to a trade union activist. He'd fled the country after the army seized power in 1973. The repression that followed was so severe that Uruguay became known as Latin America's torture chamber. Maria knew nothing of her husband's political activities, but just weeks after her daughter was born, she was arrested and sentenced to 75 years in jail. Now, nearly 4 decades on, she remembers being put in solitary confinement.
Suddenly finding yourself in a room, there is no daylight, it's just a light.
Electric bulb?
Yes, and I didn't have anything to really say what time it was or what day it was.
And the food?
It was horrible. Initially I wouldn't eat it. But then you realise that that's the only thing there is. So I ate it.
And what noises are you hearing?
Doors being open, people screaming. Sounds like people being dragged from one place to another. And then shots.
Gunshots?
Yes. And then everything went quiet. That was the scary thing. But then I was being taken to be questioned, and I just didn't know every time whether I would come back to the cell.
Terrible, the sound of boots coming down the corridor to your door.
It's just horrendous. It really is. And then you start thinking, I hope it's not me. I hope it's someone else they come for.
Can you tell us about the interrogations?
When I was taken out to the cell, they would put a hood over my head. So I never really saw anyone. They were using different tactics. There was once that you could hear a child cry, and they said that was my daughter. And if I didn't help them, then something might happen to her. And I still couldn't help. Then at one point, they decided that they would take one of my teeth out every time.
Every time you didn't have an answer?
Yes. They wanted an answer, and I didn't have one. So they had to stop because I didn't have any more. So I lost them all.
All your teeth were pulled out?
Yes.
Because you just didn't have any answers?
Yes. It's just awful, really. It's a pain, and unable to understand why, really. There was no need. So it continued the interrogation, and then I heard them saying that because I wasn't helping them, they were going to shoot me. And what I could hear was the guns getting ready. And then one of them said, "Oh, look, it's lunchtime. We just do it another day." And that was just terrifying. I really thought at one point, why don't you just do it? What else can you do to me? That was the very last time, really, I was interrogated. But when I come out of there, instead of going to the normal cell, they put me in another one.
A cell with other people?
No, on my own. Then a couple of days after being in that cell, they gave me a card, just a normal postcard. And it just said, "Dear Maria, thinking of you, Margaret," and an address in Scotland.
Scotland?
Yes. And, well, I mean, being called Maria, half the world is called Maria. I did say to them that this card did not belong to me because I didn't know anyone in Scotland. Apart from a cousin in Australia, I didn't know anyone else outside Uruguay, really. I did insist this card wasn't for me, but they were not going to take it back. Quite a nice picture of lochs in Scotland.
Of a loch in Scotland?
Yes. This was nice, actually. And then a couple of days later, they brought me another one.
Another card?
Another card. That was from France. Then I had another one, and it was from Canada, and one from the States. And they all referred to Maria. The cards had something in common, which was the word Amnesty International.
Amnesty International?
Yes, written. But how did that relate to me? I couldn't quite see it. So it was a bit disconcerting in a way.
Because, of course, 15 in Uruguay, you'd never heard of Amnesty International?
No, never heard in my life.
The cards from Amnesty members kept coming and coming. At one point, Maria's guards said they would give her just some of the latest to arrive. Then they handed her 900 cards. Maria had become the focus of a worldwide campaign, and it seems that the authorities were uncomfortable with all the attention. She was summoned to the prison governor's office.
When I arrived, they said, "Well, we have got a problem. You are becoming a problem to us. To solve this problem, we're going to release you because that's today's post." And there were sacks and sacks of letters for me.
They showed you in the room?
On the side of the room. And they said that if I released me, they wouldn't get any more letters. So that was the best thing to do. But I had to leave Uruguay.
So after a year in prison, Maria was put on a ferry to Argentina. And wandering through the streets of Buenos Aires, hungry, dishevelled and bewildered, she spotted a sign on a building. It carried the words that she'd seen on each of the cards she'd received in jail. Amnesty International. She walked into the office, explained who she was, and began to learn more about this organisation that she now believes saved her life. Maria was given asylum in Britain and was eventually reunited with her husband and daughter. She has since remarried, and today Maria Gillespie lives in the town of Chester in the northwest of England.